Welcome to another Chef Knives to Go Quick Look product review. I'm Steve Gamache, and what we have is the Yoshito Saku Aogami or Blue number 2 Santoku 165mm knife. So as the name indicates, this knife has 3-layer construction, and the hardcore cutting edge steel in the center is Aogami Blue Paper number 2 reactive high carbon steel from Hitachi. Heat treats about 61, 62 Rockwell typically on that. The cladding on either side of this is soft iron cladding, so it is reactive as well as the coarse steel, so there's no stainless or semi-stainless on this. The cladding has a kurouchi or blacksmith protective finish on this part where they've, the blade flats before the grind, and then it does have some lacquer coating on it as well. You can feel that on there. The weight and dimensions on these are going to vary a little bit, but they've got a pretty cool, unique way they finish off the blade road down here where the grind comes down towards the edge. It's pretty cool aesthetic. The weight and dimensions on this particular one are 144 grams and 5.1 ounces. And the edge length is about 167 on the edge, or about 6.6 inches. It has about 12.1 inches overall length on it. Blade thickness, these are pretty thick coming out of the handle, then they thin down quite a bit. So this one I got about 3.4 above the back of the heel here, and then I measured halfway down the blade about 1.8, and we don't have a lot of taper beyond that, so you'll see it comes down and actually maybe thickens up just a tad before we get to the grind, and then we thin out towards the tip, and then they actually thin it out pretty nicely at the very end. And if you look, it's actually quite thin. Get back to focus here. That's quite thin at that very tip. Here is what the choil shot looks like. So they thin it up pretty nicely at the edge as well. Blade height on this is 47 millimeters, so plenty of clearance. The handles are oval. I don't really say what they are, it just says hardwood. They have this what's called an urushi finish on it. With their technique, they've got a description of that. This looks like almost a little painted finish on it, and then an overall finish on top of that. So for a, quote, ferrule. But nice handle install. You've got a little definitely sealed up nicely in the front part, and it's very nice looking wood. It really pops the grain and has a nice feel in the hand. Circumference is about 72 millimeters or 2.9 where that line is. This is typically where I measure. So this has a little bit of a neck coming out of the handle, enough into the choil or the back of the blade where you can put your finger there. It's not a huge amount of room, and this will vary a little bit from knife to knife. But this particular one, I can get my finger in there pretty nicely, and so it accommodates a pinch grip pretty comfortably. Balance point with this hardwood handle is on this knife. It's right about there, so just in front of that choil. So a little bit behind a pinch grip for me. Let's get a good look at this guy here. It's a nice looking blade. And if you look closely, we have, what's neat is we've got hand engraved kanji on here. And so you can really feel that with your fingers. It was done post KU finish because you can see the steel underneath. I should say iron underneath, so you can see it's shiny under there. So really, really pops. Very nicely done. You can run your finger over it. It's just a really nice, cool effect. This is really a pretty smooth KU finish on it, and almost has like a nishiji or pear skin type effect to it. Part of that is the lacquer on it. On the, come on camera, here we go. On the left side of the blade, you've got an embossed symbol on there and some kanji. And you can see there's the grind towards the edge. There's your coarse steel peeking out from below that cladding line, and below that you have the actual edge bevel. The top part of the blade, they have filed off and relieved a little bit of the corners, and they've also done a file job and relieve pretty much the edges on both sides of the choil into the neck. So they've done a nice finish job on this. The blade's pretty stiff in the back half. The front half does a little bit of flexibility, not that much, but it's quite stiff in the back half. These did not have a very good edge on them. That really kind of like a quick edge they threw on there. So I've got 3 of these, 3 different models of these, or knife types, and they've all, they're all going to need edge work out of the box. So if you're not a sharpener, you might want to have Chef Knives to Go do their finished sharpening service on it and pay for that. And you'll get 2 things with that. You'll get an understanding of just how sharp one of these knives can get, and then it's a quality edge, so you'll see kind of what your edge retention should be if you've got a good edge on there that's been crafted well. So, and again, expect to have these either sharpen them yourself or have them sharpened before you get them in house. Let's take a look at the cutting board on this. Let's see, we did the balance. Yeah, we did the balance point. Gotta keep track of my stuff here. These are cool looking knives. So here's the edge profile on this one. So you'll see the Santoku sheep's foot kind of point is exceptionally low compared to the center line, even from a lot of Santoku knives. So you'll see I'm not going to get too high on here before that tip wants to dig right in. So I'm digging in right about there. So every knife's going to be a little different. Some of these might have a slightly more belly to them, but this one's pretty low, and you can pretty well see I've got a very low, I would almost say you could treat this like a bunka style, sans the hard edge corner on it, but that's that low. So this will make great tip draws, push-pull cuts, glide cuts, some chopping. Again, this particular knife, I don't know if they're all like this, but this could almost be treated a little bit like a bunka in a use sense. So, but neat package. They look cool. The steel, I did sharpen this out of the box and got a feel for it. The steel sharpened up very nicely for me, and it felt like it had a little bit of hardness to it. So this is the Yoshito Saku Aogami, or blue number 2 Santoku 165mm knife.